Hey everyone, this video is my top 10 worst movies of 2023. Starting out at number 10 is About My Father. The movie centers around Sebastian, who is encouraged by his fiancée to bring his immigrant hairdresser father to a weekend get together with her super rich, eccentric family. This movie had a lot of potential, but it delivers no laughs, and I found the movie to be very predictable and incredibly boring. About My Father comes across as generic and forgettable, and it's just not worth your time. At number 9 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I really enjoyed the first two Ant-Man movies, but the third movie was a huge disappointment. This time around, Ant-Man and the Wasp find themselves exploring the quantum realm, interacting with strange new creatures, and embarking on an adventure where they go up against an underwhelming villain named Kang. This movie just has too much going on and is full of special effects which overshadows what each character is trying to accomplish. It's very messy and a huge letdown. A Haunting at Venice is at number 8. This was a movie I was really looking forward to since I enjoyed Death of the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express. Unfortunately, A Haunting at Venice is the weakest out of the three. In this third installment, we follow Detective Poirot on another murder case in a haunted mansion with a cast of uninteresting characters who we can care less about. The supernatural horror element does nothing for the film since the story is very bland and boring. Michelle Yeoh is the only standout, and Tina Fey does a decent job. Overall, a big disappointment with A Haunting at Venice. At number 7 is The Boogeyman. To be honest, I totally forgot about The Boogeyman until I was working on my top 10 movie list. This film follows a family that becomes haunted by the boogeyman after a troubled man visits and inadvertently brings the creature to them. This is the kind of horror film that is filled with the same horror tropes that we see in other movies, which makes the boogeyman very forgettable. I don't have much to say about this movie, only that you can definitely skip it. The Exorcist Believer is at number 6. This is a story where two girls disappear into the woods and are found 3 days later safe and unharmed, but only to become possessed by a demonic entity. I honestly hated this movie. I'm surprised it's not up on top of my worst list. I was very invested in the first 30 minutes since it was all about a missing children's case, but once the girls were found alive, everything went downhill after that. I don't really enjoy demonic possession films, especially when it revolves around children. I've only seen the original Exorcist once over 20 years ago, and I have no interest in revisiting that movie again. Everything about The Exorcist Believer was unoriginal and predictable. I remember watching this in theaters, and I just could not wait until it was over. Number 5 on my list is Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool is about a couple on vacation venturing outside their resort ground, but only to find themselves in some horrific predicament. I reviewed this movie when it first came out, where I mentioned that this movie was just not my cup of tea. Infinity Pool has a good concept, but I found everything to be poorly executed. I found this movie to be difficult to watch at times. There were some good performances from Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth, but overall, I just can't recommend this movie. Expendables 4 is at number 4. Expendables 4 is embarrassing. I don't have much to say about this movie. There wasn't much of any storyline. It's just a bunch of cheesy action scenes, bad acting, terrible CGI effects. We have Jason Statham, Sly Stallone, 50 Cent, Megan Fox. No one was good in this movie. Don't watch it. Please skip it. At number 3 is What Happens Later. What Happens Later stars Meg Ryan and David Duchovny. It's about these ex-lovers seeing each other for the first time in years when they both find themselves snowed in at an airport overnight. This was Meg Ryan's directorial debut. This movie was incredibly boring. I was very disappointed that this was Meg Ryan's comeback after years away from being on screen. Meg Ryan and David Duchovny have no chemistry whatsoever. I was just watching two ex-lovers bicker and banter for 90 minutes. Absolutely nothing happens in What Happens Later. It was a complete waste of time. Landing at second place is Skinamarink. Skinamarink is a Canadian experimental supernatural horror film that follows a young brother and sister who wake up during the night to discover that they cannot find their father and that the windows, doors, and objects in the house are disappearing. This movie has an interesting premise, but I was not impressed with how this movie was filmed. Majority of the time I wasn't sure what I was watching because all I would see is just dark, fuzzy, and static imagery of walls and furniture. None of the characters are clearly seen. There is a very creepy vibe to the movie where the children are whispering and you hear running footsteps, but it's just difficult to know what is going on. I left Skinamarink wondering if I had just wasted 140 minutes of my time. Skinamarink is definitely a movie I would never watch again. So, my number one worst film of 2023 is Asteroid City. Asteroid City is a comedy drama directed by Wes Anderson. This film follows a writer on his world-famous fictional play about a grieving father who travels with his tech-obsessed family to a small rural astral city to compete in a junior stargazing event, only to have this worldview disrupted forever. It features an ensemble cast that includes Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Adrien Brody, Jason Schwartzman, and many others. I found Asteroid City extremely difficult to understand. The narrative is overloaded with unnecessary stylizations that distract rather than engage. I basically checked out halfway through the movie because it was extremely boring. This is why Asteroid City is my number one worst movie of 2023. So this was my top 10 worst movies of 2023. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Feel free to let me know what your worst movies were in the comments below. If you haven't seen my video for the top 10 favorite movies of 2023, the link will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.